Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
Welcome to another great episode of Foxborough Central. I'm Bob Hickey, your host. Thank you for taking a little bit of time. Sit back, grabbing a cup of coffee, and listen to me talk about all the things that are great about Foxborough, the organizations and people to make us special, the gem of Norfolk County. Speaking of Foxborough being special, one of the things that makes us and all other communities, well, not all of the communities, but many communities in New England special is our form of government. Open town meeting is an opportunity where we, the citizens, can go vote and make a difference. Special town meeting is in the fall, but the annual town meetings are where we talk budget, as well as how we as a community are going to fund the coming year and the things that need to happen to make us work. Foxborough's annual town meeting is coming up this Monday, May 13th. And in preparation of that, which is going to be, by the way, at 7:30 at the high school, hope to see everybody there. There's always room for more. And it's really our civic responsibility and duty to come out to annual town meeting, make a difference, make a vote, and perhaps find out what's going on. But what is going on? This past election, I had the great opportunity during our live election coverage to sit for an extended period of time with Larry Thomas. Larry is the chairman of our advisory committee, and it was a great opportunity as we were waiting for the vote tally to talk about the upcoming town meeting, the warrant, and some things that are going on in Foxborough. So what we've decided to do here at Foxborough Central is take that footage and present it to you now. Hopefully this will give you a little bit of information and also pique your interest and make you want to come to town meeting on Monday, May 13th, 7:30 at the high school. Why don't we sit back now and let's watch a conversation between myself and Larry Thomas, chairman of our Citizens Advisory Committee. And welcome back to live election coverage. That's right, it's Foxborough Election 2013. I'm Bob Hickey, your host. Thank you for sticking with me as we sit here and wait for the results. Of course, live election results are live, and due to state law, it is necessary that the primary results are tabulated and announced first, and then the local election results will be tabulated and announced. I'm also pleased to be joined by Larry Thomas. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us, folks at home, and talk about the town warrant. Of course, town meeting is coming up. The annual town meeting is coming up on, and forgive me because I said this wrong earlier in the broadcast. Thank you for coming out and saving me. It is on Monday, May 13th.
There you go.
Monday, May 13th at the Foxborough High School. Anybody who's a registered voter can come out?
Absolutely. And we encourage everyone who can come to come out. We'd like to have a good turnout. You know, turnout tends to be a bit low at town meeting, but we'd love to see more people come out.
So Larry Thomas, of course, is a local civic leader, a former member of the school committee, and currently you're serving on the advisory committee. You're the chairman.
Chairman of the advisory committee, yes.
And I want to thank you for the second consecutive year. John Gray, of course, helping us out last year and kicking us off. We're going to take the time between now and the election result announcements to talk about town meeting and why it's so important to come on out as a citizen and what some of the issues are. So. It's been a long season, as it is every year, but
it certainly is.
But there have been some interesting kickers this year, haven't there? Some of the highlights of the current town warrant. I'll call it a season because it is definitely something where the budget process starts in October, all the way through now to the beginning of fiscal year on July 1st. What are some of the highlights?
Well, we have a pretty large warrant with 29 articles. A lot of them are housekeeping articles that we do every year, but probably the most interesting article would be, I think it's Article 28, which is the TIF, the Inventus TIF.
The Inventus TIF,
right.
Tax Incentive Funding.
Exactly, and that's, interestingly, a lot of times the most controversial articles are at the beginning of town meeting. This time it's at the end. So it should be interesting to see how many people are actually there at the end of the warrant.
You know, and it's funny you mention that because many of us have an opinion, myself one of them, that you want to put the juicy stuff at the end to encourage people to stay.
Yep.
And of course, the flip side of that
Two schools of thought.
It's unfair to make people sit through mundane stuff that can easily be done by a simple quorum to get to the meaty stuff. But the problem with that is, and we've seen it time and again, you know, once say Article 6 on this subject or Article 7 on that subject happens, the zoning articles at the end.
Absolutely, and we lose a quorum. There's time. Last year we lost a quorum.
We had that. We did. We
couldn't get through the warrant.
That's right.
At the end.
So Article 28
28, I believe it is. Yep.
So let's talk about 28. TIFs for Inventus.
Yes, so the TIF, I can't even remember what the acronym stands for now, but essentially...
Incremental funding.
There you go. So essentially it's, Inventus wants to do a considerable amount of investment in their plant, about $30 million worth of investment.
30 million.
30 million, yeah, on their plant. And they're going to close the Bristol facility, which is the one across from the old Bradley's Plaza,
okay.
and do a tremendous amount of renovation in the Cohasset and the Neponset buildings. And that of course is going to make those buildings a lot more valuable. So there would be quite a bit of taxes due on those buildings. And what the TIF will do is forgive the taxes on the new part of that, not on the increase. So we're not giving up any taxes on this.
As we're fond of saying, it's not a tax reduction, it's a reduction in the increase.
On the increase, exactly right. And it's not forever. Mm-hmm. It's for, I think it's 15 years.
It's a 15-year.
And it's a sliding scale, so it starts out at 100% and then slowly goes down to, where we would be getting 100% yep. of what we're due. And we had a long conversation about this at the advisory committee meeting, a very spirited conversation about this, where there were people who thought maybe the town could have gotten a better deal. There were other people who were, a bit miffed that, a large corporation like Inventus would be coming to a little town like ours and as they put it, squeezing us for some tax dollars. But at the end of the day, we all agreed, and I'm pretty sure it was unanimous, that it's a small amount, and the value that Inventus brings to this town is just really incalculable. Jobs, occupancy, absolutely,
ancillary businesses that depend either directly as contractors or the restaurants,
right,
the laundromats, yep. the people who really depend yep. upon the infrastructure yep. that Inventus brings to our community.
The support they give to our schools, they bring people in, they give us equipment. I mean, they're just embedded in the community because they've been here for so long. Mm-hmm. And they're not a very costly occupant for us either in town. I mean, the people all go home at night. They're not there on weekends. Doesn't require a lot of police.
And now that the fire whistle is gone from the center of town, we don't even.
That's right.
You don't even
That's
think
right.
about it too
That's
much.
right. So we're going to recommend at town meeting that the town vote in favor of that particular article.
Okay. So with the tax, I'll just call it TIF. With the TIFs, the important thing of that is that if we fail to pass TIFs, what is some of the opportunity for Inventus to do something different?
Well, Inventus, of course, could take their business elsewhere.
They could never do that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of towns around here. They wouldn't even have to relocate their employees. If they could probably find a nice office park somewhere around here that was willing to give them a considerable break on their taxes.
Mansfield Industrial Park is
exactly.
It's right there. It's
exactly.
across the street, essentially, yep. from their facility that's on commercial.
Right.
So that's in North Attleboro has a beautiful business park, and
right.
Attleboro has their. We've all read about it in the
Absolutely.
newspaper, that development. They are actively
yep.
looking for
all these
folks
towns would love to have a business like Inventus. And at the end of the day, I think at its peak, we're forgiving about $135,000 in taxes, which represents about 0.2% of our total town budget. So it's a very small amount. And the risk, I think, would be very real that if we don't vote in favor of this, they could potentially leave.
It is a risk. And I think people need to, and one of the things that really struck home with me was in thinking back to when the straw hat industry left Foxborough.
Were you here?
No, but my good friend Jack Offlet, our town historian, sure. I've seen his work, I've read his books, and I've heard him tell that the period between the major industry leaving mm-hmm. and the next major industry coming to town, that was difficult.
Yeah, it's a big gap. It would cause a tremendous amount of hardship to a lot of people, not just the employees of Inventus, but to all the other ancillary businesses that depend on them. Yeah.
And plus, if those buildings aren't renovated, and the main campus on let's be very blunt about it, the main building on the Ponset, that was built in the 1800s.
That needs a lot of work.
That was the old Van Schot Electric Company.
Yep, it needs a lot of work.
When you think about it, that's a pretty impressive record of longevity for a company, any company, to stay in the same location, but the same building.
Yep.
Given that when the building was constructed, there was no internet, there was no air conditioning. There was no, power to support a lot of the machinery there. So everything has been a piecemeal addition.
Right.
And it sounds as though this is going to be a great opportunity for Foxborough to really, I don't want to say cement the footprint, but give them a reason to cement the footprint.
Absolutely. Once you make that kind of an investment, you're going to be here that's a signal that you're going to be here for quite a period of time. And these are exactly the kind of jobs that we'd love to see in the town of Foxborough. High-tech manufacturing, engineering, software engineering, just wonderful jobs.
Career jobs.
Career jobs.
Careers can
you
be
could
made.
have a job there and be able to afford a house in town.
Those people can stay, raise families, support other businesses.
Absolutely.
And that, of course, is a criticism of many restaurant jobs that they don't really get full employment. Inventus is certainly full employment.
Yes, with benefits.
Well, we've talked about number 28.
Yes.
I assume there's a few others on the docket.
There's a couple more. So, every year we do the budget. And
Article 4, right?
Article 4, yes.
Always Article 4, folks.
Always Article 4. So the budget, I think, is an increase of, it's either 4.2 or 4.4%. The highlights there are...
But wait a second, Larry.
Yes?
Proposition 2.5 says we can only increase 2.5%.
Yeah, but there's new growth, and so in any particular person's taxes will go up 2.5%.
Prop 2.5 is for the property tax limits of the increase, but not for the increase in spending because of new growth and new opportunities to generate revenue, such as the meals tax.
Yes. Yep. So we're going to hire a policeman, and I don't know if you were on the Board of Selectmen when they did the cough report. I don't know if you remember the cough report.
Absolutely remember the cough report, and we used that as a basis for our negotiations.
Yep.
And we ended up obtaining, in exchange for the liquor license applications for the state.
So mitigating.
We talked about
money.
Non-incremental, but mitigating money until the revenue stream from taxation was anticipated to increase to the point where it could become self-sustaining. We did receive that as unfettered revenue from the applicant, from the craft organization, to pay for these. And I think some of the officer positions were funded, and some of them were not.
That's right.
And
so
this
should bring us.
Town meeting could make.
Yeah, this hire should bring us either at the level that the cough report said we needed to be at to protect the town when we having the size of the police force necessary when you have a development like Patriot Place. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be at or nearly at that level finally.
Well, that's an important step because the cough report had made some assumptions based upon educated guesses and
if you read that today, as far as the revenue is concerned, that they projected out, I mean it's amazing what a good job they did.
I was just going to say
they did a great job.
And the one thing that isn't up to levels that could have been would be crime and the use of services.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we should be complacent. And my opinion is that we should take the cough report as a pretty level study of what a community of 17,000 more or less, with two major venues, Patriot Place and the stadium. And granted, a lot of the work up there is detail work, and that doesn't go directly off the town budget.
We don't pay for that. Right.
But it is still people, infrastructure, and how do we position ourselves to be able to deal with events when they happen.
Right. Yeah.
So that's in the budget this year.
That is in the budget this year. There's also some new teaching positions. I can't remember all the detail, but one that I think is important is a new IT position. Although it's on the teaching side, so it's someone who's good with mobile devices, mobile technology, and using that in the educational process. So that's an important. I think that's an important person to have, particularly as when we get to the CIP budget. You'll see that there's quite a bit in there for school networking infrastructure, and we'll be able to do a lot of new things using a lot of these mobile devices. So it'll be important to have people in there who have some experience on using these devices, to help teach.
Well, that is really interesting because, and folks at home may not know, but I also host a local cable interview show to meet the people and the organizations that make Foxborough special. And I had the great opportunity to interview and speak with all four candidates for school committee. And of course, I'm here talking with Larry Thomas, chairman of the advisory committee, as we eagerly anticipate and await the live election results from Foxborough local and state primary elections 2013. So as I had a chance to interview all four candidates, a recurring theme was positioning our students to be able to enter not only the workforce, but enter the college environment and be
career ready to go forward and take that next step in technology. And we all talk about, technology is a huge piece. But Foxborough schools are doing something about it.
Well, we are. I'll give you a little piece of information that might make you feel better about spending all this money on all this technology. And I was talking to a parent of a student who happens to go to Bishop Feehan, and next year Bishop Feehan High School is going to require every single high school student to come with an iPad, and they're going to embed that in the educational process. Today in our high school, we wouldn't even be able to support that because we don't have wireless technology.
Don't have the wireless, right.
So we absolutely have to get the wireless technology. That's something that you could argue we should have done a couple of years ago, but we're going to do it now. And so that's part of the CIP. So we've moved off of the regular budget, and now we're talking about the CIP budget, which is Article 5. So as you know, we kind of divide operational spending with spending on capital assets, things that have a long lifespan.
Randy Scollins, our long-serving finance director, likes to say that the operational budget should come from recurring funding sources. CIP comes from one-time funding sources and free cash. And free cash is the delta between what we actually spend and what we budget 2 years ago. So the CIP money this year was actually the money that was saved or realized from budgetary savings back in 2011.
Right. Yes.
Okay, because it then gets certified that we actually do our budget process accurately within state, conforms to state regulations, and then they certify that we've got this as free cash, and that gives us the budget to spend on CIP. So capital improvement, what are we going to improve this year?
Well, so there's the wireless technology in the high school, in the high school, which I think is absolutely a wonderful thing. The other thing that's interesting and probably more controversial is the investment in camera technology in all of the schools.
Camera technology, of course, is what we've read about in the Foxborough Reporter.
Right.
And we've heard tell of an initiative to put security cameras in the public areas, so the hallways, the entrances of the high school. And with the Sandy Hook shooting fresh in our minds, this is a very important piece of legislation. Now, I don't know if you remember, but several years back when I was selectman, there was an initiative during the construction of the Patriot Place and that mitigation. One of the items was to put security cameras at the intersections to be able to identify scofflaws, people
go through the red lights. Right.
And that was voted down. So how do you think the vote's going to go this time?
I think that the world has changed quite a bit in the last few years.
We're not talking about stoplights. We're talking about
so there's a CIP committee. I sit on it, and the town manager, Jim DeVellis, chairman of the board of selectmen,
a member of the school committee, or the school superintendent.
School superintendent, right? And so
and
we
had water and sewer, actually, who would now be the DPW
director. Yep.
It's been a while, but I remember these
things. Very good. It's very good. But we talked for a long time with the Chief O'Leary. And he was very, very passionate about really wanting this technology in the schools. That if something, God forbid, if something happens in the schools, they'll be able to monitor what's going on from the police station, and the people responding will know exactly where to go when they get there. So it's not a huge investment in dollars, but I think some people are worried that it'll be used for for other things potentially, to monitor students in a way that parents might not want. But I think that, I don't think that's going to happen.
I can argue it myself. I like to think of myself as a pretty good Reagan Republican. My father was a past president of the Pittsburgh chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union. So together we would merrily drive down to the polls, cancel each other out, and go have a beer afterwards. So, great times, good memories. But we would have some serious discussions about surveillance. And it's such a tough slope to go down. Once you give up a certain liberty, do you ever have the chance to get it back? And I think that the Transportation Safety Administration is a great example of who of us today, look at the debate going on now over their proposal to allow people to carry small penknives back on the planes.
Right. A lot of
what a
controversy.
hue and cry. And I got to tell you, I'm a Reagan Republican, and I don't see a need to carry a penknife on an airplane. What on earth would I need a penknife on an airplane for? I somehow have managed to go the last
all these years without doing
20 or so
that.
flights without my penknife, also without my cigarettes, and also without my shampoo bottle of 2.2 ounces or more. So, I think we as people can be trained for the greater good. Now, that said, liberties are something that we should hold dear.
Yes.
And
yeah.
how do we really take an initiative by the police department, the police department going into our schools?
I should stress that it wasn't just the chief that was really adamant about this. In partnership with the school administration. They really felt strongly that this was an important thing to do. And I think everybody on the CIP committee felt the same way. But it's the safety of our children.
We circle back to Sandy Hook as being something where could it have prevented? No, but it goes to the overall safety, and with such an emphasis these days on bullying and on, really understanding what's going on in our schools.
And just look, you could say that all those cameras on the streets of Boston are an intrusion, in people's civil rights, but it sure helped the police find the two bombers from the marathon very quickly.
I think with that, we just need to understand that we're now going back to the technology. We're in a technology-driven world, and just as Google Maps now is everything and everywhere, and I can look up any property practically in America and get not only an eyeball on what it looks like, but I can get different angles. I can see where I'm going, what I'm doing. The marathon bombing was a clear case of how those are tools that should be embraced and should be used. And from the citizenry, volunteering and sending their iPad phone, iPhone, iPad, camera, videos. It also is a rather startling realization that everybody's doing it. You go to a concert, you see everybody holding their phone up, and you go out, and the first thing that happens when people come out is they no longer pull out their camera, because the 5 or 10 people have cameras, but everybody has a cell phone.
Exactly.
I have a cell phone with a camera.
It has a high quality camera in it.
And it is.
Yes, very high quality.
So, I think that I would have to agree that that's before I agree, how did the advisory committee vote?
We voted in favor of the CIP budget. So that's a piece of the CIP budget.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else in the CIP budget that we should be looking at?
No, not that I can really remember. I mean, it's
we're
school
buying
buses
and
we
3 school buses.
Exactly. So that's an interesting. That's an interesting thing that you just brought up. So every year we replace a certain percentage of the computers that we have in the school system.
Somewhere between 20 and 30, depending upon the models.
Right. So what's been happening in other schools, and we started talking with the technical people in the school system here, is a lot of schools are moving away from computers now. So no more full-featured, $600, $700, $800 computer. Now they're getting iPads or even something less expensive.
For those of us who were amazed when the computers came,
that's right.
I can still remember lugging around the Commodore.
That's right.
Now to have them go the way of the Dodo, that's an amazing.
But these are schools that are now saving a substantial amount of money by buying much lower cost mobile
iPads
devices.
Now have.
They have just about everything that you can
My
need.
daughter has
put textbooks on them. Not carrying around gigantic backpacks anymore.
Huge savings, and also they're upgradable, and you can carry that with you, and you don't have to get a new computer. Right,
and that's probably one of the reasons that FIAN has decided they want kids to bring iPads to school, so FIAN won't have to invest in all these computers.
And the cost has come down so much.
Way down.
It's phenomenal.
Way
the
down.
difference between. But of course, that's true with everything. Televisions, big screen televisions. It wasn't so long ago that a $2,000 screen was $6,000, and now.
Yeah, and the schools usually get a pretty big break on technology because these companies want kids to start using their technology when they're young, so that they'll stick with it.
You mean there's advertising in school?
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So the technology is a huge piece of what's coming down for the school department.
Yes.
It sounds like the CIP budget is trying to give them the tools to at least do some positive work.
Absolutely.
With that. So then with the CIP budget, are we getting a new fire truck this year? New ambulance?
I think it's
portion.
We got an ambulance last year, I think.
And I think it's putting away some more towards a new fire truck.
Yeah.
I think that was the approach taken some years ago, that it wasn't reasonable to expect that there'd just be $800,000 laying around for it. So it's incremental savings. And again, a lot of that credit goes, in my opinion, to Randy Scollins, our finance director.
Yeah, Randy does a fabulous job.
It's a tremendous job he does of understanding that recurring funding is recurring only so long as things go well. And my favorite comment from him
we have been a very fortunate town as far as revenue is concerned.
And he came on in 2005 and helped set our budget, because we had gone through a couple years of significant downturn going back to 2003 when the state took money mid-year from our budget. And that was a very critical
moment. Look at North Attleboro right now. I think they've got an override on their warrant.
For operational expenses.
For operation, yeah, a general override as opposed to a debt exclusion.
Yeah.
So, and that's not uncommon in the towns around here. And we have never, ever had a successful one. And I think the last one that appeared on our warrant was back in the 90s.
Right.
So we've really been fortunate.
And with that.
And a lot of that, too, is because of the quality of the financial management that Randy and his team
and also all the managers staying within their, living within their means. And I know that there are some things that are unavoidable. Snow. It happens.
Yeah. And you have to plow it. People want their roads passable.
But I think Foxborough is blessed to have a very strong leadership group.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, with Kevin Pecos, our strong town manager, he's the one who prepares the budget and then presents it to selectmen and to the advisory committee, just as Andy Gallo did before, in his role as town manager. And then as far as the vetting process goes, how involved do you get with it?
We get very, so we start meeting on the first week in January. So all during the fall, we're typically getting ready for the fall town meeting. And we were pretty busy because, there was the turf field, and up until the end there was a new town hall, and the sewer. We didn't know that was going to be taken off the warrant. So we were very busy in the fall. But starting in the first week in January, we meet separately with each of the department heads. And in some cases with some of the other boards in town, like the library trustees, and they talk to us about their budget, what they're trying to do, and we also encourage them to just give us an overview of their area, because the new people on the AdCom have never heard this before. That usually takes us to maybe the first week in February, and the first or second week in February we'll get the warrant itself, and this time there were 29 articles, and we're still not done with it. There it is.
Town warrant.
There it is.
Which, of course, is available. And one of the nice things about Foxborough, speaking of technology, is that you can download your own version off the Town of Foxborough website. So if you go into it, town warrant is right there. So if you want to get a sneak peek,
take a look.
Don't wait until the night of. Go ahead and open it up, look at it, research it, and come out to town meeting. Annual town meeting is Monday, May 13th.
May 13th. Yep. 7:30.
7:30.
Yep. A lot of people, when they come to town meeting, if they've never come before, they're really pleasantly surprised at what an interesting process it is.
I love town meetings.
I do too. I'm a town meeting junkie. I
get to see
never
my
miss.
friends. I get to.
Sometimes that's the only time you get to see some of your friends. And people tend to always sit in the same place, and they get the same group together.
I'm about 4 rows down on the right.
Yep. It is. It's a lot of fun, and it's very interesting. And at the end of the day, the people who make the final vote on how money's going to be spent and how bylaws are going to be changed in town are the citizens themselves. It's not the AdCom, it's not the Board of Selectmen, it's not the school committee, it is the citizens in town.
It is the check and balance, and it is the legislative body, absolutely.
Yep.
And to that end, having been I'll call it a political junkie, if you will, but a local political junkie, I got to tell you, town meeting usually gets it right. And I going back over the years, I'm trying to think of a time when town meeting just completely kicked it. And it didn't happen. I think the citizens, the involved citizens who come out and make it a point to know what's going on, they get it right. And
absolutely. It's very rare that people vote, in a way that people would say, well, what were you thinking when you voted that way? There's a lot of wisdom in the collective citizens coming out and voting together.
And part of that also is a lot of the work that your committee does. So
we try to provide good recommendations.
And the way you're structured, you're appointed by the town
moderator. Yes.
Town moderator, Frank Spillane.
Yep.
Who's also up for election, but he's not running against anybody. So we're thinking there's a pretty good chance.
Yeah. Yes.
Unless they're still counting write-in votes.
Yeah, unlikely.
And of course, we're here live speaking with Larry Thomas, Chairman of the Advisory Committee. We're eagerly anticipating the election results. Kathy Brady, Bob Cutler, and their team of election officials are working hard to get these results to you. We're going to stick with you as long as we can, make sure that we're able to bring them to you live on cable channels 22 or 38, and of course checking us out live on our video stream at www.fcatv.org. Larry, so with the advisory committee, now you've served how many years?
This is my third year this time, but I also did 3 years back in the 90s.
I thought you had done an earlier stint.
Yeah, so this is my second time being chair. Ironically enough, John Gray and I served together back in the 90s, and then John became chair, I was the vice chair, and then he finished and I became chairman. Same thing this time.
Now,
he was chair last year.
He was chair last year, and I'm going to ask you about some specific roles, but I'm going to laugh a little bit. John Gray, of course, as a chairman last year, sat here with me, we did the same presentation and talked about the warrant articles coming up. But I understand that he forgot to tell you that this was now an expected duty
What's that?
Sitting here with me and doing live election coverage as we await for the results. So between you and me and folks at home who are watching, of course, next year's chair, you are going to pass along that it's one of the duties.
I already did.
Excellent.
I told Paul DeFazio, who is our vice chair, that he's going to be sitting in this chair next year at the elections.
I'm sure we all look forward to.
He was thrilled.
Seeing,
he was absolutely thrilled. Yeah.
But you fought him for the pleasure this time, and I see
That's right.
you managed to get your way in here.
Yes. Yeah. That's fun.
So on the advisory committee, there's 15 members.
Yeah. We started. So 15 is the max.
Is the max.
It's pretty rare that you get 15 because it's a fair amount of work. So we started with 14. But it's been tough this year. We've lost a number of members because their jobs have changed, their family commitments.
Sure.
So we're down to about 9 now.
Okay.
And we're just, 8's a quorum. So, we're trying really hard to finish up this year.
So say somebody at home is watching and they say, gosh, I want to be on the advisory committee.
Yeah,
I cannot
I'd
imagine
love to hear that.
anything more important than researching issues for my community.
Yep, and it is a lot of fun. You learn more about the town than you could ever imagine. Yep.
And Jim DeVellis, of course, is a past member of the advisory committee.
Yep.
Lorraine
Brew.
Selectman.
Yep.
Jenny Capola.
They've all served.
current selectmen. So it's a great stepping stone, if you will.
It is.
To really
it's
get
a training
that
ground.
But also inside knowledge. You really learn how town government works.
Yep. And on the school committee side, Katie Adair was a former AdCom member. Tina Belanger, former AdCom member. Steve Uden, who ran this year, former AdCom member. So, if you have any thought about potentially getting into town politics, a great place to start is on the advisory committee.
And Tina Belanger is a great example. She has younger kids, but she was involved as a member of the advisory committee. And the way it works, correct me if I'm wrong, but each person is, quote unquote, assigned an area or
as a liaison.
Given a liaison. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yep.
Thank you. On live television, sometimes I remember the words, sometimes I don't. A liaison. So as a liaison, Tina worked with the school
with
committee.
The schools,
and,
yes. As did Steve Uden. Same thing. This year. Yep.
This year.
Well, last year.
Okay, and then as Tina did that, she became very interested in the school committee.
Absolutely.
And it seemed as though it was a natural fit.
Yes.
Because this year when she ran, she was appointed last year, and this year when she was given the opportunity to run for a 2-year seat, she was unopposed.
Right. That's right.
So I think people in the community recognize the value of a well-informed, caring, personable, intelligent person, but someone who also has had this training.
That's right. That's
Perhaps.
right. And there's a lot of intricacies around the budgeting that you probably would only learn on the AdCom. In fact, it's not unusual at our meetings, we'll have 2 or 3 selectmen come to our meeting. Oh, there we go.
You know what? And I'm going to thank you, Larry, for joining us.
I
now
enjoyed
I take
it.
you the lot. I'm going to give you this.